Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahala Imna Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Bashem Kudash, and double honors to the great Muslim apostles. Thali Yahshua for the strength in order to make this video, and Yaratazah they find it edifying and exhorting, man. So of course, getting to the point, this is the part 2 to the other video which I named Suffering Wrongfully means, or it involves being misunderstood as well. And Yaratazah, this will probably be quite a short video because, as I mentioned yesterday, all I needed to do was read a portion of Genesis chapter 37. Because if we read to get holistically, there's Genesis 37 in terms of the beginning of the envy of the brothers of Joseph, the 11 other brothers. And of course, if you think Genesis 38 is on something else, but Genesis 39, 40, 41, up to about 45, probably after that as well, but up to the point of 45, that's when you see the whole journey of Joseph specifically, man, what he had to go through, to the point where the brothers came in, Jacob himself, of course, came to Egypt as well. But just for the portion of this lesson, I'm just reading Genesis 37, Yarat as well, just to get to the point. And prior to that, just to open up, I know it's the same precept that I read yesterday, but for today, obviously, just a reminder of what the topic is based on. It's based upon this precept here. This is 1 Peter 2 and verse 19. Still got the cold and cough lingering, but I'm in the latter phases. So Thadiyah for that. 1 Peter 2 and verse 19, it says, "For this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience towards the Most High endure grief, suffering wrongfully." It says verse 20, "For what glory is it, if when ye are buffeted for your faults, ye shall take it patiently? But if when ye do well, and suffer for it, ye take it patiently, this is acceptable with the Most High." So again, as I mentioned in the previous video, it's about just enduring those injustices, those moments of injustice that you do feel. If you then tolerate them, Yahweh Shimashah does see that. It's not as if no one sees it. In the spirit realm, the abundance of angels are seeing it. Yahweh Shai is seeing it. Yahweh is seeing it. So of course, Yahweh Shimashah is seeing those injustices that you're tolerating, that you're enduring through. And of course, in that time to come, he will vindicate you. That's the word. So it's not as if you ain't got no support. You will be supported in the time to come. And that's when you go and most need it, man. Strength from Yahweh Shai, especially in this time of the MOTB. But not to go on a tangent, let's read Genesis 37. So Genesis 37 and verse 1, "And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock." So he was young, man. He says Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad, you see, even here in the scriptures it says lad here, which of course comes from the root word yalad, which means boy in the ancient Hebrew. Yalad is the ancient Hebrew word for lad, which is boy. So, a young boy, a young man. So it says it was with the sons of Bilhah, and the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives, and Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. It says, "Now Israel," aka Jacob, "loved Joseph," because if you read former chapters, Jacob wrestled an angel, then he gained the name Israel, which means Yasha Allah, which means that he is a prince of the power. So of course, certain contexts like here in Genesis, when a person is called, when the name Israel is referred to, obviously you got to read it with the context to understand it. It's referring to the actual guy called Jacob, one man. Other places in the scriptures, other further ahead from Genesis, when it refers to Israel, it could be referring to the northern tribe, and then it can also be talking about the nation as a whole as well. You know, sometimes when you hear Judah and Israel, that's talking about southern tribe, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and also the northern tribe, you know, Gad, Reuben, Naphtali, you know, Latin tribe, the Latino tribes basically, and obviously Gad and Reuben being the Native American Indians. So continuing on, just to clarify that. So it says in Genesis 37 verse 3, now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. So of course, you know, Jacob, Israel, realized, and when I say Israel again, Jacob realized that Joseph, he had Joseph when he was of old age, man, and of course that's quite an achievement, considering that of course as the age increases, fertility does go down, but nevertheless, you know, Jacob considered it as a quite an achievement there, which is all through the power of the Most High, you know, Yahweh, you know, about Shem Yahushua. So it says, verse 3 again. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. You know, it's like a father who has a favorite son, and then, you know, he goes to the shop to go and get him something. In this case, he actually made him an actual coat in it. So let's get to it. So it says, made him a coat of many colors. Verse 4, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. You see? So now we're getting into the roots of how his brethren, even his own father, Joseph's father, Jacob, Israel, was actually misunderstood Joseph, man. But of course, the brethren already being in the spirit of envy and hate, that's the root of why they misunderstood Joseph, man. So emotions came into play. Now it says here, right, verse 4 again. And when his brethren, so Genesis 37 and 4, and when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, so brethren meaning brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So of course, envy, hate, those were the dominant emotions that the brothers were feeling against Joseph. It says, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. So let me keep reading. Verse 6, and he said unto them, hear I pray you this dream which I have dreamed. So Joseph was telling the brothers, this is the dream that I had. Listen up. So verse 7, for behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. And of course, you could already imagine them, the brothers, as he was telling them the dream, which basically what the dream was it's in his sheaf. Imagine like a collection of wheat, or like a gathering of wheat, or gathering of hay, you know, wrapped up, you know, with a rope or something, you know, some kind of so wrapped up like with a rope. You know, that's one gathering, and then you got the other brothers with their gatherings as well, surrounding Joseph, and then their sheaves was bound down to his sheaf, which was, you know, above theirs. Let me read that again. Basically, standing up, and the other ones were bent down to be as in a subservitude position. Now, verse 7 again, Genesis 37 and 7. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood up aright. So it's the sheaf stood up, man. And behold, your sheaves, so your gatherings, stood round about and made obeisance to my sheep. So, you know, there were typically, if you search that up, you probably see like an illustration, one of them children Bible books, where you got the gathering of straws, or gatherings of hay, or wheats rather, You know, you got the one surrounding them, the 11 surrounding the one that's standing upright, and then they're bowing down, the 11 are bowing down, whilst Joseph, which is represented by that sheaf that's standing upright, you know, is there in the center. So that's typically how the children ones illustrate it. But let's continue. It says, verse 8, Genesis 37:8, and his brethren said to him, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more of his dreams and for his words. So of course they were of they were of a low understanding at that moment in time, you know, because that was really, you can liken that dream as a vision for what would happen in the future, man. Especially when you read, you know, the further chapters as well. And when Joseph was, of course, brought into Egypt, sold, and after being sold, of course, he then gets promoted, interprets the dream, you know, for Pharaoh, that it's going to be famine for this amount of time. And, you know, you see the journey of how the Most High then increased, pretty much showed favor unto Joseph, and then he keeps increasing him, man. So eventually his brothers then come along and joins him, as well as the father Jacob, Israel. So yeah, man, egos were egos were getting shut down here. That's why it says, shalt thou indeed reign over us? And shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. So Joseph was like, oh damn, alright. You know, he probably felt like, okay, I ain't gonna tell my brothers no dreams. I ain't gonna tell my brothers no dreams no more, man. So he had to hold back on telling them the dreams. But yeah, verse 9, it says here, and which again, his brethren had a low understanding of what that meant. Of course, egos were at play here as well. So they were like, oh, you know, young bro gonna tell big bro what to do? That's basically what they were perceiving, translating it into modern terms. So verse 9, and he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed. Oh yeah, okay. So it says, and told it his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and 11 stars, and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. So it says, and told his brethren. So he told his brothers again about the second dream too. And not just his brethren, but he also told his father, as it says this. So now, in the second dream, let me read it again in verse 9. Genesis 37:9. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren. So he told his brothers and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. The reason why I'm laughing is because, you know, first time the hate and the envy was already there, and they already increased for the first dream. You know, so from verse 9, you can imagine the reaction, you know, of his brother, despite it not being included here, but it was already included from the first dream. So you can liken that, Joseph said it a second time, but related to the sun, moon, and then the stars. It says the 11 stars made obeisance to me. Those 11 stars, of course, representing his brethren. Which really, in the spirit, Joseph was of a higher state, or of a higher favor from Yahweh, you know, than his brothers. Quite literally, those men, you know, those brethren, those brothers, you know, and Joseph, of course, included. You know, Joseph was highly favored, man. That's why, you know, Genesis 39, Genesis 40, 41, 40, up to about verse 45, chapter 45. You know, you'll get a deeper understanding of Joseph, man. Alright, so it says here, hold on. So again, verse 10, let me just read verse 10. So Genesis 37:10, and he told it to his father and to his brethren and to his father, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee into the earth? Again, egos were being struck there, man. Even the father took offense to it. Because, of course, you know, he had to. In fact, let me read on. Verse 11, and it says, and his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying, which means, you know, the father actually meditated upon what Joseph said, because it's like, you know, a man of his age as well, considering his wisdom too, he ought to reason. Does this have a meaning? You know, it's like if a brother today had a testimony, you know, testimonial type of dream, you know, and it's a bit abstract. Of course, we filter it with the scriptures in order to be able to reason. Oh, okay, so this is what that means, and that's what it could mean as well. You know, pertaining to the scriptures, which is just how we reason. We're reasoning with the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So, as it said here in verse 11, and his brethren envied him, and his father observed the same. And his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem, or Shacham, which, I mean, I've got to get this in the blue letter. I remember actually getting in the blue letter, but it passed my mind, man. But I know Shechem goes into Shacham. See if I got it with me. Yeah, hold on, bro. Alright, so the root word for Shechem, or Shacham in the Ancient Hebrew, I would presume it, because it says Shechem, and of course the CH is pronounced as Cha in the Ancient Hebrew. Now, so Shacham means back or shoulder, as it says here. Yeah, that's the key part. Of course, it says other information, but in terms of its meaning, it says back or shoulder. So that's what that land was named, Shechem. You know, but read, besides the point, it says, and his Genesis 37:12, and his brethren went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. Now, of course, the key part here was really between verse 1 to 12 about his dreams being misunderstood. Because, you know, just to get to the point of the video that pertains to this topic that I'm talking about here, is the fact that his dreams were misinterpreted. He was favored, and of course, he was favored of Yahweh, and of course, he was envied, he was hated of his brethren, because of the fact that even Jacob as well, you know, Israel, favored Joseph too, man. You know, when you got your favorite sibling. And that's just it, just like the way in a holistic sense, in the aspect of the whole world. I'm talking about the earth here and all the nations. Yahweh Shem Yahshua chose Israel because they were the smallest. And of course, you know, the point is that Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, really are the favored people, are supposed to be the favored people of Yahweh. Now, the reason why I say supposed to be is because of the fact that Israel is being as a fool, you know, sottish children. You know, Jeremiah 4, and I believe 22 talks about that as well. So, of course, you know, when a child, let's say he had a child that he once favored, a father had a favor for a child, that, okay, this child is his favorite. If that child then becomes disobedient and stubborn, there will be a disliking for that child. Will there not? Yeah, that's the point right there. There will be a disliking for that child. That's why I said supposedly are supposed to be the favorites. The real time that we're going to reflect that favoritism will be when we're perfected, starting from the elect of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. So, just hold on. So Jeremiah 4:22, for my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish. Sottish meaning stupid. Sottish children. So stupid children. And they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. So of course that's why I said supposedly they're supposed to be the favorite. Israel, of course, if you were to get to the point, without the technicalities, Israel as a whole is the favored nation of Yahweh. Dead on simple as that. Now, but the point is, because of the fact that they're also referred to as foolish children, sottish children, and disobedient. That's why they're going through the curses of Deuteronomy 28. That's why we've got to go through that cleansing process, man. 2/3 again. Wicked Israelites, Zechariah 13 and verse 8. They're going to need to die by fire, nuclear missiles. Of course, some of them will have to also fight in the war in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which again is going to be in vain anyways, because of the fact that it's like, come on. If you haven't woken up for the truth of Yahweh Shem Yahushua and knowing who you are, which are the fundamentals in this ministry, and the Most High sends you out there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, the Middle Eastern area there, it's going to be a wrap for Jake, man. You're going to have to come back for the part 2, which is, of course, when you're brought back to life again in the kingdom of Yahushua. So anyways. So Jeremiah 4:22. But the point I was making was that Joseph was being misunderstood, by his brothers. So the same way family as well, it's all about your blood family. Because really the real family is the spiritual family. The spirit really has more power over the flesh. So those of us Yaratazar that we are the elect, we were really part of the first fruits that were, creating with Yahushua. Taking orders from Yahushua to create this, create that, create this, create that. Pertaining to Genesis 1. Which, that's the point right there, pertaining to the elect body. But, again, there was a misunderstanding. The same way family of the world will misunderstand you when you're also in this truth. So you gotta always remember that when it comes to this ministry, man. Just accept that people won't understand. Whatever words you say will probably just go over their head. They'll be like, when they're giving you that look, they're nodding their head slowly, but you know that they think you're speaking bullshit. But it is what it is. Being misunderstood, as I brought out the precepts yesterday as well. In fact, let me get this. This is Ecclesiasticus 2, starting from verse 1. Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, prepare thy soul for temptation, set thy heart aright, and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Because of course, it also helps to have peace of mind when you already know, okay, they're not going to understand me. Talk about your family members here, and whoever you were eager to tell the truth to. I remember earlier on, I was flipping telling the community cleaners, man. And I was talking to them about that, and it dawned on me like, they're not gonna get it. Obviously at the beginning you're more eager, it's like, okay, you're gonna tell everyone, man. But you don't realize yet. You can't cast your pearls onto swine, man. The pearls are likened onto the understanding of the scripture, the true understanding of the scriptures. The pearls, of course, first and foremost, the names Yahweh Shem Yahushua, second of all as well. Really, it goes into the knowledge of the scriptures, man. The rightful breakdown of it. You can't just cast that onto swine, man. Which, again, Israel are likened onto swine as well. It's not just flipping heathens. It's Israel specifically, especially those of the world, and partaking in that wickedness. So that's really the point, Akim. It says here, let's read verse 3, Ecclesiasticus 2 and 3. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. And that lower state is when, you be feeling kind of lonely. It's like, oh, damn. Especially at the beginning of the truth as well, first year. That's how it be, man. That's how it be. You just got to endure it. Expect to be misunderstood. And then, that'll give you peace of mind that, all right, they ain't going to get it. There's no need for me to waste energy and try and force it down their throat or something. And when you're trying to feed the baby some food, but then the baby ain't even trying to just start dodging the food. That's basically what Israel's doing when brothers are out there preaching the truth, man. Bringing out the scriptures, saying this is what this means. It doesn't mean that. It means this. You're telling them the darn truth, but they're not. They're dodging. They're swerving their heads. They're like a darn baby that says, "Nah, you don't want to eat the food. Stop pushing the darn spoon away from me." Anyways, man, Yaratazar, he found it edifying. Actually, let me read verse 4 and 5. Actually, I think I skipped a verse, Yeah, I skipped a verse. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 3. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased in thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. So belief is fundamental in this truth, man. Because we know that Yahweh Shemshah has given us the truth. If you therefore know within yourself you hold the truth, why then should you waver to some fake philosophy and fake ideologies or ways of thinking of the world? It's just it. You can see it as this analogy. You hold let's think about this. Let's say you hold a diamond, and the rest of the world holds some kind of a lower metal. Let's say silver. No, not silver. Let's say something even lower, carbon. Because as they say, from pressure within carbon, if you apply pressure to carbon, it then creates diamonds. So let's say the world has carbon, but in its impure state, where it hasn't been pressurized, and then we got the diamond. Why would the person who holds the diamond sacrifice that diamond just for some darn carbon? It doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so we'll leave it at that. Yaratazar, Kim, you're edified. And Yaratazar, on to the next one, man. Shalom, Yahbashim Yashai, Brakatha, once more double honors to the great apostles, of course, as well as the elder bishops as well. And Yaratazar, this has also helped to build up your knowledge and especially to exhort you in terms of your faith in Yahbashim Yashai. Shalom, Yahbashim Yashai, Brakatha.